Hello, my sentient noodles, and welcome to this week's episode of SCUBA, where we dive deep into history and current events. My name's Hailey, and I'm a senior here at WCWT Centerville. Welcome to the Joan of Arc special. And now it's time to strap on your air masks, check your flashlight batteries, and 3, 2... You were born in 1412 to a peasant farmer and his wife, in a small village in the northeast of France. It's the middle of the 100 Years' War, and the country is devastated economically and divided. When you were young, you helped your mother in the house and father in the fields, spinning wool and tending for animals. When you're 13, your hometown is attacked by the English. They steal all of your family's cattle and devastate the town. People believe that the only way to attain peace is to expel the English entirely from France. You were in the garden just days later when an angel appears to you. It is Saint Michael, the patron saint of your hometown and a defender of France, and he is surrounded by angels. You, Joan of Arc, have just had your first vision. As he leaves, you burst into tears. You wanted them to take you with them. You have many visions from then on of Saint Michael as well as Saint Margaret and Saint Catherine, both popular in the area. The latter are virgin saints that were tortured and martyred for their beliefs, and you swear a vow of virginity to them. A young man from your village claims you broke a promise of marriage to him, but you argue that you made him no promises, and you move on with your life. There was a prophecy from a mystic and another from Merlin you grew up hearing about an armed virgin carrying a banner that would save France. You, Joan, believe that this is you, that the visions of saints and angels you have are signs. When you were 16, you petitioned the commander of the nearby military garrison for an armed escort to the court. He refuses and sends you home. Less than 2 months later, forces from an opposing claim set fire to your hometown and forced you and your family to flee. You return to the garrison a few months later after having lived as a refugee. The commander turns you down again, but 2 of his soldiers support you and take you to Charles II, who believes that as a saint-blessed virgin, you can heal him. You offer no cures, but tell him off for living with his mistress. Your visions begin to tell you to leave home, to go and help a different Charles be crowned. England controls Reims, the traditional crowning site, but that is the only way to legitimize Charles VII's claim. The English are going for Orleans as well, but the angels insist that you cannot let them. The commander finally agrees to give you an escort of soldiers to Chinon to meet the Dauphin Charles. Before leaving, they provide you men's clothes, much safer and more convenient to travel in. You meet Charles VII when you were 17, and you tell them that he is the son of Charles VI and the legitimate king of France. You tell them that you have come to raise the siege of Orleans and to lead him to Reims, the traditional site of coronation. You are interviewed by theologians, and they decide that you are the real deal. The Dauphin commissions plate armor for you as you design your own banner and claim a sword. In Orleans, the situation is bad. Your people are sieged and demoralized after nearly 100 years of war. But once you join the cause, the soldiers' spirits soar. Your divine devotion turns a squabble over inheritance to a fully blown religious war. You dictate a letter to the Duke of Bedford to inform him that you have been sent by God to drive him from France. In the last week of April, you arrive in Orleans. You're greeted enthusiastically and treated as a figurehead, but you stay with the front ranks, where the fighting is intense, and you advise commanders. Every time you appear in the throng, soldiers rally around you and fight harder, and you encourage them to stand on the offensive. You're wounded by an arrow to the shoulder, but you return to the field as soon as you can. The siege lifts a week after you arrive in Orleans, and that is interpreted as a confirmation that you are sent from God. The English, in contrast, claim that your ability as a peasant girl to defeat their highly trained armies means that you are possessed by the devil. But all of France believes in you, Joan. You insist that the army advance to Reims, and Charles VII allows you to accompany and advise them. You order sieges that succeed in just a day, and you serve in the thick of battle even as your helmet is split in 2. When the army approaches Reims, it is unopposed, and towns return to Charles VII without opposition. He is crowned, and you continue to fight for him. Your first defeat is in Paris, weeks later, and the army disbands. Your second is when a separate army has to abandon their artillery to the English. Returning home, Charles VII grants you and your family a title of nobility, but you are not of the court. When an opposing faction begins to reclaim towns that belong to King Charles, you launch an expedition not sponsored by the king. filled with volunteers. Commander after commander walks by your side, and you easily defeat the opposing English force. You have to shrink your army as you continue, because the countryside cannot support all of you, and you are captured by the opposing faction as you fight desperately. You try to escape from the Burgundian faction, but the English pays your ransom and take you as their personal prisoner. You're put on trial for heresy, for dressing as a man, for acting on demonic visions, and for claiming that only God would judge you. The English attempt to hold a holy trial for you, but they break procedure again and again. You should have been held by the church and guarded by women, but you stay in English prison with male guards. You do not know your charges, and you're interrogated without counsel. You fight for yourself, stunning interrogators with your wise answers and refusing to be intimidated by threats of torture. In early May, they decide you're guilty anyhow. You agree. You sign a document saying that you will wear women's clothing, and you do not bear arms. You are mistreated, kept in chains. Your head is shaved and you are assaulted. The guards force you to wear men's clothing, and that is the final straw when the clerics come to visit you. You tell them that if they did as they had promised, if they'd allow you to go to Mass and be free from your chains, you would be obedient. They demand you deny your visions instead of offering mercy. You do not. At the age of 19, you, Joan of Arc, are burned at the stake for religious heresy.
Sweetness, I was only joking when I said I'd like to mash every tooth in your head. Oh, sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to her Roman nose and her Walkman starting to melt. Big mouth strikes again. I've got no right to take my place in the human race. Big mouth, la-da-da. Big mouth, la-da-da. Big mouth strikes again. And I've got no right to take my place in the human race. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to her Roman nose and her hearing aid started to melt. Big mouth, la-da-da-da-da. Big mouth, la-da-da-da. Big mouth strikes again, and I've got no right to take my place in the human race. Big mouth, Big mouth la-da-da-da. Big mouth strikes again, and I've got no right to take my place in the human race.
That was Big Mouth Strikes Again by the Smiths, which does, in fact, reference Joan of Arc during the chorus. All right. Charles VII remained king after Joan was martyred and opens multiple inquests into the British trial. She was posthumously rehabilitated, and the original trial was decided to be deceitful and unjust. In 1894, Pope Leo XIII decided that Joan's mission was, in fact, divinely inspired, and he supported her visions fully. These visions, well, they might have been caused by a lot of things. Epilepsy, a brain tumor, ergot poisoning, dancing plague throwback, anyone? Schizophrenia, etc., etc. Also, the fact that she wore men's clothing was controversial. However, it was generally accepted that a woman could wear men's clothing in that era to hide from enemies or if no other clothes were available. As she was fighting for France, people were fine with it because men's clothes were more practical for a warrior to wear. She did not cross-dress to hide her gender, which would have been illegal, but she did it to work. But, you know, the English, they had no nuance. It was the 1400s, so we can kind of forgive them for that because, we're allowed to wear pants now. Anyhow, Joan is a symbol of French strength and has been used as a rallying point in the Franco-Prussian War, as well as in both world wars. She was made an official saint in 1920, and her feast day is May 30th, the anniversary of her execution. Next up, here is Lenders in the Temple by Conor Oberts, who also references Joan in his chorus.
Short delay, the parrot blues, little voices mimic you. It's not so hard to make that sound. So watch your back, the Ides of March. Cut your hair like Joan of Arc. Disguise your will, they'll find you out. And when they do, look out. There's money lenders inside the temple. That circus tiger's gonna break your heart. Something so wild turned into paper. If I loved you, well, that's my fault. The alpha male, not something she'd ever tell, except when she got deathly high. Then out it came like summer rain, washed the cars and everything, felt clean for just a little while. A telethon, we drunk dial, the starving children, they ain't got no mother. There's pink flamingos living in the mall. I'd give a fortune to your infomercial if somebody would just take my call. Take my call. Take my call. Patterns in my mind now moving slow. Sorrow all across the surface roads, smoothing out the edges of the stone. The lights are out, where'd everybody go? Alone. Erase yourself and you'll be free. Mandela destroyed by the sea. All we are is colored sand. So pay to ride the Ferris wheel. Smile, all that you can feel is gratitude for what has been. 'Cause it did not happen. There's money lenders inside the temple. That circus tiger's gonna break my heart. Something so wild turned into paper. If you love me, then that's your fault. There's money lenders wonders inside the temple. This crystal city's gonna fall apart when all their power turns into vapor. If I miss you, well, that's my fault. That's my fault. That's my fault.
I love the little coin rattling at the end of that song, just the production. I appreciate that kind of attention to detail. I think it's super cool. So, quick fun fact about Joan of Arc before we launch into the final portion of Scuba for today. Her haircut is what inspired the modern bob. In France, they still refer to it as the Joan of Arc cut. So I will post a picture, or one of the extant paintings of her with her helmet off. Is honestly pretty cool, and I wish I could rock a bob like that. Anyhow, aside from her influence as a symbol, or as a political symbol and also a hairstyle icon, Joan of Arc is also an icon of pop culture. Histories and biographies and plays were being written about her as she was fighting for France. Then later, she was featured in Shakespeare plays, a Voltaire poem, and even a fictional biography by Mark Twain. That bio did not get a lot of attention, but he considered it his finest work. Obviously, we have many more extant examples of modern works, but with the exception of the 17th century, there are works from every century out there. More modernly, she's become a popular figure in angel stories as a holy warrior goddess type of situation. She's appeared in one of Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels, as well as the Nicholas Flamel series by Michael Scott, not of The Office. Chappell Roan, TikTok to Spotify pop phenomenon, recently drew inspiration for her performance of Good Luck Babe at the Virtual Music Awards, which you heard as today's intro. There were flaming arrows and a whole lot of armor on the stage, and it was a stunning show. All right, I hear you. Why Joan? Why does she get a solo piece? Well, it's because she is a legend, literally, and she changed the shape of the world at age 17. I am about to no longer be 17, and I think it is time to look at all of the incredible things that I did not accomplish at 17. I can tell you that I definitely did not become a holy warrior unless I'm about to have a really wild week. Anyhow, thank you guys for listening to Scuba here on WCWT Centerville 107.3 FM, the voice of the Elks. We will not be here next week due to a teacher in-service day, but stay tuned. I will keep posting on Instagram at Underwater Lemon Weaving. Now let's return to the surface with Joan of Arc by Arcade Fire.